Welcome to the Career Radio for international students. And today we have a special guest, Dushan. Would you like to give a self-introduction?
So I'm Dushan Korikar from Sri Lanka. I was in the G30 program, Automotive Engineering Mechanical, and graduated in 2020. And since I have worked in Japan and I've changed my job once, it's been good since then.
Thank you. And we also have a co-interviewer. Would you give a quick self-introduction?
Hi, my name is Gab. I am currently a third year in Automotive Mechanical Engineering, so same as Dushan. And I'm really looking forward to learning a lot from you today.
Thank you. And this is our special English edition of the Career Radio for international students. So let's begin. So in case our listeners are unfamiliar, the G30 program at Nagoya University is an English undergraduate and graduate program here at Nagoya University. And let's begin by asking you what kind of company and what kind of role you do at that company.
I work in a company that customizes cars. So to be exact, we make body kits, wheels, exhausts, whatever you can think, we do modifications to cars. My current job is designing the mechanical part that makes the fitting of the part possible to cars. So I have to make the mold, check the fitment, and develop a product that fits perfectly onto a car.
That's great. Before we get into that, I would like to talk briefly about your application process. I'm sure a lot of our listeners are very interested in the job hunting as an international student in Japan. So
all right. So since I am in third year, we do have to do shukatsu soon. So I was pretty interested in how you started your application process. How were you able to get this job?
So as I told before, I changed my job once. So in the beginning, when I was in university, I contacted one of my senpais who help foreign students look for jobs. And they actually helped me quite a lot because I wasn't confident enough in my Japanese level and if I can actually work in Japan. So they helped me look a job, search for a job. They recommended me a lot of jobs that are willing to accept foreigners. And that was the first step. And then I looked for companies that I actually want to work, that I have a passion for myself, and applied because I had enough confidence then to do it myself.
All right. So I wanted to ask about the current state of, the automotive industry's recruitment. Would you think it's leaning towards like networking? As you mentioned earlier, you contacted senpais. Or would you say it's better to apply to companies yourself?
I feel like senpais can help you quite a lot, especially when it's your first time looking for jobs. You should ask your senpais about the workplace because the workplace is quite important, the environment. And getting your senpais help is one of the most important things.
That's great to know. Okay, so moving back to when you mentioned that you applied to other companies yourself too, I wanted to ask how many of those companies did you apply for, if you remember, and how many of those got back to you?
I applied for more than 4, which is not too much when it comes to a lot of people. Some people apply for maybe 10 companies, but so only 2 companies got back to me out of the 4. So I say apply to as many companies as you can.
And how many interviews did you end up going to?
I went to 2 first interviews and the second one for the company that I used to work for.
How about the current company? Was that also through your application by yourself, or?
Yes. So the current company I applied to by myself, I looked at their website and I really found what they do interesting, which it was kind of a dream job for me. So 10-year-old me would be very proud of myself. And I specifically looked for that job. I applied myself. I went to the interviews myself. And my first interview was with a general employee, and the second interview was with the CEO of the company, and he was quite impressed. And me being a student of Medai helped quite a lot, actually.
Okay, so I guess it would be safe to say that this company would have been your first choice from the list that you formed. Okay, so is this profession of yours, design and engineering? You said you design a lot of prototypes. Is this your first choice of career? Okay, so I did kind of look at your LinkedIn for a bit, and I saw that you were fairly interested in learning about newer technologies. Yeah, so how is this a profession of yours currently, design engineering, helping you with this goal?
So as you guys might know, to keep up with the current day's demands, you have to come up with new ideas to reduce the costs, innovate, and cost reduction is quite important these days due to the economic situation. People don't have as much financial freedom as they used to, say, 10, 15 years ago. The pricing of your product is, I feel like, one of the most important parts. If the price is not right, no one is going to buy it. And to do that, us as people who develop things should find newer technologies, cheaper ways, while keeping the quality at an optimal maximum rate. So that is where the innovation comes.
Okay, so we'll be going back to the job-specific questions in a bit, but I did also want to go back to the application process. I wanted to ask what your biggest hurdle was.
So when I was first applying to companies, my biggest hurdle was my level of Japanese. I'm not proud to say I wasn't confident enough to have a conversation other than just normal daily conversation. So I feel like that is one of the biggest hurdles as international students.
I also wanted to ask, I'm not familiar with the automotive engineering, but when does the job application process really start? And when would you recommend it to start?
As a general rule of thumb, I feel like you should start the process at least an year in advance, or maybe more, but at least a year. If you are lucky, maybe half an year could do, but just to keep things safe, 1 year in advance is.
And do you look for internships that 1 year in advance, or do you just go to the company's website, go to the recruitment page, and shoot an email?
If you want to do internships, I suggest you do the internships way ahead. Like usually there are internships where you can do during the summer break. Don't try to get an interview 1 year in advance just because you want to go to that company. I feel like that's a bit of a rush. I feel like internships just get done with way in advance.
Okay, so your 1 year is what it will take for you to start your application journey, get through all of the different filters that the company has set, and then finally get that offer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whoa, okay, that takes longer for you guys. Okay, and then another thing I was interested in is you said from the beginning you were interested in design engineering, but how do people find what they're passionate about in your industry, or is that something that you had initially?
So in my case, I was actually quite interested in cars since I was a kid, and that was one of the reasons why I specifically picked Nagoya University. So if you don't know what you want to do, I think you should ask a few questions from yourself. What are you happy doing? Do you want to do it as the thing that makes you money? So there are generally two kinds of people. There are people who do something to make money and use that money to do what they like. And there are people that do what they like to do and make the money. So there are two ways.
And when you were doing job applications, did you specifically only apply to companies that focus on your passion, which is like design engineering, or did you just try different companies to see which one fits?
I tried to only pick companies that focused on what I wanted to do.
And would you say that's like the recommended approach?
Yes. For me, enjoying what I do is a big part of my life.
How long did you work in your old company?
So I actually went to that company before I graduated. I was working there for almost 6 months as a trainee. And back then, things were good. But once I started working and getting to know the company...
Now, I want to talk about your current job. So what position did you start in? What was the job that you initially did? And then how did you sort of climb up?
I joined as a design engineer. I was allocated to normal just designing molds, prototype, and anything basic. But after that, after about a year, I was allocated to a group company of the main company that focuses on prototype development alone. And we also work for OEM, like big automaker. And after 1 year, I tried really hard. I was passionate about the job, and they realized that I was a performing employee, and I was made the chief of prototype development 1 year after going to that Kogaisha. And then another year later, so it was this year, beginning of 2025, I was made Kakari Chodairi. I'm not really sure how to translate that into English. If someone can help me, I don't know. So it's Kakari Chodairi in Japanese.
Okay, that's amazing. And you said you struggled with your Japanese proficiency, and is your current company mainly in English or in Japanese? And if it is in Japanese, how did you improve to that point?
So my previous company and the current company operate fully in Japanese. Ooh. And so the previous company actually helped me quite a lot to improve my Japanese. By help, I mean no one spoke English to begin with, and I had to put in a lot of effort to study Japanese myself. I used to carry around a notebook and write down all the words that I hear that my seniors and co-workers spoke, and I wrote it down, and I had to look up all the words after I got home on, say, Google Translate, how to read, how to write, and that is basically how, kind of the company indirectly forced me to learn Japanese, which I'm very thankful about.
Wow, that's really amazing. And give me like a time frame of like how you develop your Japanese.
To be honest, I think I'm still learning Japanese, but I was confident enough to carry on with my daily life after about 7-8 months working for that company.
Going back to your current job role, can you give me like a 1-day look into your work life?
At my current job?
Yes.
So I wake up at about 6:30, and I do my morning routine, which is just brushing my teeth and getting myself ready. And I go to work at around 7:30, but work starts at 8:15. And I don't go there because they tell me to come to work early. I just go there voluntarily. And as soon as it gets to 8:15, we have our meeting, a morning meeting, discussing the job that everyone has to handle and get on with our daily tasks. And we have break at 12 to 1. And the normal off time is 5:15. And no one forces you to work overtime, at least in my current company. You are free to decide if you want to do overtime. If you think you don't have enough time to finish the job on time, you are free to decide that. And then I go home. Sometimes I go for a walk, gym maybe. And that is how my day goes by.
Wow, okay. It sounds like you have a good work-life balance.
I'd like to say so.
Okay. And what are like the technical level that you need to be able to do your job? And do you think Nagoya University has prepared you enough for that?
Yes. There are things that we might think that, okay, what am I going to use this for in my life? But there are things that you actually do use at a workplace, and sometimes none of the people around you might know how to use it, and you do, and that's going to be one of the happiest moments for you. And you might think you're never going to use it, but yeah, you will at some point.
Okay, and so you never went through a training period or anything like that?
So in Japan, you have a 3 to 6 month training period. Yes, everyone has to go through it.
And would you say like your old company sort of helped you ease into your new company, or are they on the same difficulty level of your job?
Definitely helped me a lot. Basically, if I didn't have the basics that I learned from my previous job, I would be really struggling to work at my current place.
That's a positive. And are you able to get along with your coworkers? Are most of them Japanese? And if so, how is your relationship?
All of them are Japanese, and we do quite well together. Actually, all of them are really nice. We have never had an issue with any of our employees as of now, and I don't think there will, because everyone helps out each other. If there's something that you're struggling with, someone will help you. So I feel like it's how do you say, a small family, I guess.
And about your company, is it like a very large company, or do you think it's more of a small startup kind of energy?
It is not a big company, and it is not a small company either. We have about 150 employees, and we have sales of about 110 million per year.
Wow, okay, that's great. And what's like a surprising or unexpected aspect of your job?
I actually went for office job, but the nature of my current company has let me talk to customers directly. Sometimes we go to exhibitions, I get to interact with customers, and I have been abroad handling foreign customers as well. So that was quite exciting and unexpected.
For your working environment, what kind of difficulties do you face at your job?
It's when it comes to prototype development, nothing is guaranteed. You have to find solutions as you work through your task. I feel like finding the proper solution, or the solution that fits that problem, is the hardest task, because there are physical limitations to what you can do in a specific situation. I feel like that's the hardest thing.
I see. And regarding work compensation, I'm sure a lot of people are very curious about it. And what would you say is like the average right now? And is it enough to support your living in Tokyo?
I think I'm getting paid more than the average as of now. And as an advice, if you're planning to be based in Japan, and I advise not to settle for anything less than 3 million before as of taxable income. So the strict line would be nothing less than 3 million. That's not going to help you in the future if you're planning to get settled in Japan.
Okay. And do companies, I would like to hear from your company, and like in general, if you know it, offer like support for housing or some kind of subsidies to help the new workers?
Yes, we have a housing allowance, commuting allowance, and if you are married and have kids, there is different types of allowances. Because the line of work that most of the people in my company involved can get a transfer, so they get extra housing allowances if they are asked to transfer within Japan.
Oh, I see. And would you say that's like the norm, or just your company is really good?
That better be the norm. So I don't think you should settle for anything that doesn't at least give you transportation allowance.
How do you think it is to work as an international within a Japanese workplace?
In both the workplaces, they treat you quite well because you are a Meidai student. I'm not sure, but you get noticed and introduced a lot to customers because you are a Meidai student. Like, oh, he's from Meidai. Oh, okay. So being a Meidai student actually helps you quite a lot in your career.
Okay, so I want to circle back to that and ask you how the G30 program has helped you in your current work, in getting to your current work.
Being G30 actually does not have any disadvantages or advantages per se. I feel like the advantage is that you get to learn in English. And another advantage is you are still considered as a normal Meidai student. I mean, nowhere does it say you're G30 or the normal Japanese program per se. So there's actually no disadvantages. It's all advantages.
Like you mentioned. I see. Yeah, like you mentioned earlier, you have Meidai student attached to your name. Yeah. Okay, so I also wanted to ask about what type of extracurriculars you did while you were here.
I actually was in KOFSA and I did take part, I helped NUFSA in certain events. I also was in the badminton circle, not the club. It was just playing badminton with friends. It was not a full-on club activity.
That's cool. Yeah, so Sugi and I are actually in Kofsa and Nufsa. Yeah, so that's nice. But I did read on your LinkedIn that you also helped out in an automotive club while you were here.
Right.
Yes. So which automotive club was it? And what type of work did you do with them?
So there are two clubs. There is the Gachi Automotive Club, and there is another one. I'm not sure what it was called, but it's all the way in the other side of the campus where they have a space to work on your car. You can store your car. You can work on. There's a club car where you can actually work on, and it helped me make a lot of friends and go on drives with them. And it was quite a fun experience. If you're interested in cars and in Nagoya University, you definitely should join the club.
That's cool. So you get to learn more about the different parts in these clubs too, aside from just going out for leisure.
Yeah, definitely. If you volunteer to help them build their cars, it definitely helps you get a little bit closer to what you like.
Do you think there's anything that you've done as your time as a student to help boost your CV or be like something memorable?
Being in the automotive club helped me a lot too. And since I knew what I actually wanted to do, taking the design practice, design practice helped me like tons. Basically, the design practice class is the starting point of my career right now.
So are you still using knowledge that you've learned from design practice in your prototyping?
100%.
Wow. All right, so I wanted to ask about the specific type of prototyping that you do. Yeah, so what type of prototypes do you make?
I make prototypes for bumpers of cars, side skirts, rear, front and rear bumpers, and other cosmetic modifications, and sometimes wheels as well, because wheels are quite a regulated part of a car due to safety. We don't get much time to work with them. They are given to the pros, like companies that specialize in wheel design, but things that don't get much safety. You don't require that much of safety. Bumpers, body kits, exhausts. We make prototypes for all that.
Ooh. Are there any special specifications that your clients ask you for in these prototypes that you make?
So our company goes by the model where we make a design, we show it to the customer, and we try to sell it. But in the rare case, we have very important customers, a couple of them, where they want us to modify certain parts of the existing design so that it matches that specific customer's taste. In that case, we don't try to mass manufacture, but we try to hand make the products for them.
Oh, okay. So do you also maybe collaborate with other companies that have, for example, machining, that mainly do machining, for example, since you're not doing mass production for some of these?
We actually do mass production, but not for wheels because of safety. Other parts, we design the product in-house, we develop the product in-house, we produce the product in-house. That is one of the specialities of our company. We do from the start to the end in-house. We actually have machining centers at where I work and I operate them.
Wow.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, that sounds awesome. And from what you're saying, you're really happy with your current company. It seems like the work you do is impactful, it's meaningful, and the workplace is great. But then how do you choose, obviously you can't just Google a company. How do you find the good companies or distinguish them from the bad companies and something of that nature?
if you are passionate about something, I feel like you know what kind of companies you want to apply for. If you're not, one way to find a good company is the amount of holidays you get per year, right? that, that is one big point. A company that has around 120 holidays per year is pretty good. And you can try to it's usually not listed on the website, but when you talk to the recruiter or the interviewer, you should ask for usually how many times of overtime do you expect your employees to do. And if it's anything more than 25 to 30, you should, I mean, it's okay. Once 1 month per year, maybe you can do 30 hours, but if it's 30 hours every month, I don't think it's a good company.
I feel like I haven't even started my job hunting applications yet, but I think it's like you're always in the position of you're the lower one compared to the company. So then it's hard to be like demanding your own terms. Do you think you should keep doing that until you find that company, no matter how emotionally draining it might be? Or you could try to have a different approach?
I can relate quite a lot to you because that is the exact situation I was in when I was looking for my first job. And I kind of gave in. So that is why you need that 1 year. If you start at the very end, you're gonna be like, oh my God, what I'm gonna do if I don't find a job. So if you have enough time, you can keep interviewing with different companies and settle for a company that fits you. That is why that 1 year is important.
Do you think that a large part of like where your current position is can be attributed more towards the university schooling or individual effort?
The first job. So if it's your first job, I feel like it's the university. Afterwards, it's the experience you gain from your first job.
And is there things that you think are very important for students to know about job hunting right now? Like what advice would you give to like third year, fourth year?
Start as soon as possible and never settle for anything less than 3 million.
So then do you have some regrets in your job hunting journey?
Yes. So as I told you, the first job wasn't the pay and the environment wasn't as I expected. That is mostly because I didn't have enough confidence in myself and I didn't take much time. I didn't think starting 1 year ahead was that important. So I feel like just take your time, set your standards, and talk to your senpais who are working in the field and ask questions. Asking questions and getting to know the field is quite important.
I feel like, thank you for the advice. And I feel like it is hard to have confidence when you look at your CV and it's not much. And how would you say, like, to have that confidence in yourself when your peers or what others have done better things than you, or maybe it just seems like a better applicant?
Honestly speaking, Japan is one of the few countries in the world that are helpful to first-time applicants, I would say. I have a few friends in Australia who find it really hard to get their first job because they ask for experience. I mean, come on, it's your first job. Who has experience, right? But in Japan, they are quite open to the new graduates. So I feel like that is something that works towards the applicants. In Japan, they hire the person. And of course, they look at your qualifications, but they want a better person than something that looks good on paper. Okay.
So then it's more about how do you think someone should like somewhat market themselves to a company?
If they feel like you are a person who could be taught the skills that require you to do that job, that is a very big. And marketing yourself as someone who thinks about your teammates working together, trying to solve problems, the general stuff, but then people don't give much emphasis to that kind of area. In most situations, they try to, I have done this, I have done that, I have this qualification, blah, 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 blah. But what's most important is how you carry yourself to the society, as how much you can work with other people. That's a big point here in Japan.
Oh, that's, I think, the first time I'm hearing of that. Thank you. And another thing is, you said your Japanese level was quite bad when you first interviewed for that first company, but then you still got a role in a company that's mainly Japanese. Would you like to speak on that?
Initially, I went there for a internship training kind of thing as a part-time employee, and they were okay with me trying to learn stuff there because they didn't have any commitment towards me. I didn't have any commitment towards them. It was part-time trainee, and then I feel like they knew that I was capable of learning the language and performing well, and I feel like that is why they were okay with giving me the job. So of course you have to put in effort and try to show that you are willing to work with them.
And what was your, just for curiosity, what was your JLPT level from before you started?
I actually haven't taken a JLPT exam to date. Still, never.
You never asked for it?
No.
Okay.
I mean, they do ask if you have taken one, but I say no. But then most of the time, like, oh, okay, you seem to be able to speak enough.
And then, what do you think that the automotive industry in Japan is like good, or you should look for overseas prospects or anything of that nature?
At the moment, the automotive industry anywhere in the world, except for China, I guess, is not doing that well. And Japan specifically is not doing great because the internal architecture for most Japanese manufacturers are kind of a generation old. And I've heard that they are trying to update the systems and putting in a lot of investment towards it. But in general, right now, the automotive industry is not doing great, but I don't think it would be like that forever. So there is hope in the future.
And applying for jobs overseas, or was your first choice to get a job in Japan?
I wanted to work in Japan because you get used to life here in Japan. It's convenient, and it's a great place to live if you find a good company, that is. And you can, of course, go abroad. You have a lot more opportunities, I mean, considering Japan and the whole else world, but I feel like Japan has a lot more potential. They have quite a lot of jobs. From what I've heard from my friends living abroad, they are struggling to find jobs, but in Japan, there's always an opening for you.
What advice that would you give your younger self right now if you were able to speak?
Learn Japanese and take a JLPT exam. I cannot emphasize it enough. I mean, I did not mean to brag about me not having taken a JLPT exam, but you definitely should if you have the ability. I mean, you should try to get an exam, and it helps you quite a lot when you're job hunting.
All the questions I want to ask you, if you have anything that you from yourself would like to tell everyone.
The work environment, I cannot emphasize enough. It's the most important thing. It could make or break your life. Work-life balance is not so good, is what you hear from quite a lot of these media and a lot of people working in Japan. But there are companies that are trying to make it better. And looking for a company that you think fits your lifestyle or your specific work-life balance is, I think, quite important. I think that is the only advice. I mean, yes, you need a good pay, but if you're not enjoying your work, you're not going to last in that company for a long time.
Okay, so I think that wraps up the podcast. Thank you for listening to the Career Radio for International Students. And thank you so much for our guest interviewer, Gap, and for our guest today, Dushan.
Thank you.